invited me to be a lecturer for the Tombaugh Club meeting. And I checked the list of previous lecturers, and it's an impressive list of people and a lot of interesting subjects. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be a presenter and be added to the list of the Tombaugh Lecture Series. So I'm going to dive into the partial phase phenomena now. And these are all the things that are related to the sun being slowly covered by the moon. And some are unique to eclipses. The next really interesting ambient lighting effect that happens during eclipse is what I call the concept of sharp and fuzzy shadows. After each eclipse, you'll see pictures posted to the internet and Facebook of people taking pictures of their bodies or their arms or their hands. And they'll say statements like, my shadows were weird, or my shadows looked funny, or I couldn't understand what was happening with my shadows. And it's a really interesting concept. And I'm glad they appreciated that something was changing, but they don't really understand what's going on. And if you understand it, it's even more interesting. Well, I wanted to define this a little bit in 2017, and my observing position in 2017 allowed me to do it simply for the first iteration of this experiment. I built a little rig that held 3 paint sticks, basically, and they held them at 90 degrees with one which was 45 degrees. That was kind of the control. And the one stick was in the path of the umbra direction, making the vertical stick, this is the horizontal stick, making the vertical stick 90 degrees to the path. Now, this only works for this eclipse in this first experiment. This only works because I was really close to the point of greatest eclipse. Because when you're close to the point of greatest eclipse, the crescents on each side of the eclipse are perpendicular to the path. So that means they're perpendicular coming down towards you. So even though I was 206 miles from the point of greatest eclipse, and even though I wasn't really in line, the ground wasn't really in line with the plane of the eclipse because the eclipse was at 63 degrees, this was a good first model. And what it shows here is that the vertical stick halfway through the first partial phases is creating a sharp shadow because it is in line with the crescent. And the horizontal stick, which is in line with the path, but perpendicular to the crescents in the sky above it, is making fuzzy shadows. And it's the same concept as creating an umbra and a penumbra. In an umbra, the shadows are the direct shadows that cause the crisp shadow of the moon or anything else. And the penumbra is because of the crossing light rays from the elongated part of the eclipse, or in a full sun where it's an extended source of light and you have an infinite amount of crossing rays. So in 2019, I improved the model because I just wanted to do it again. So instead of using sticks, I used aluminum bands, which were sharper edges and thinner. I mounted the camera within the rig so I would get direct pictures of the white board behind it. I built this little rig to be adjusted 3 times to follow the altitude of the eclipse, because this eclipse was a setting eclipse, so it really pitched a lot. So I changed the altitude of the rig to try to line things up a little bit better. And then I coordinated the pictures on the cardboard with the period of time during the eclipse. And these 10 images are images that are spaced out by using my partial phase image sequence calculator. And what we're going to watch is how do the shadows change on this particular band as I click through these and we get deeper into the partial phases. So that's the second image, the third image, the fourth image. We're halfway through now, and you can see that this is starting to get sharper because it is the one that is in line with the crescents. And as we go deeper, this one gets more sharp and this one stays fuzzy because that's the one that's perpendicular to the angle of the crescents. So it just proved again the model that it's amazing that light rays that are starting at the sun 94 million miles away can hit the Earth in a more linear fashion. And so going back to those pictures, this picture here was taken by a NASA employee at the Clarksville NASA site. And she showed it to me after the eclipse. And she said the same thing. She said, look, we took this picture right before totality and our shadows were really odd. Is this what shadow bands are? I mean, a lot of people just don't know. But now that you know the concept, I could look at her picture and I can analyze it for her. And I could tell her what the difference is between the yellow arrows here and the red arrows. The yellow arrows where things have sharp edges are the ones that are in line with the crescent behind them at the time they took this picture. And the red arrows are the parts of their hands that are perpendicular to the crescent in the sky behind them at the time they took their picture.